Welcome to Wisdom in Bloom, the podcast where women over 40 come to flourish, thrive, and just really bring self-awareness to themselves.
Keep blooming, ladies, and let's get into this episode.
Welcome. Today on our show, we are so excited for our guests. We have the incredible Dr. Lisa M. Smith-Sherrod. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
Lisa is a passionate educator, leader, and advocate for community transformation through education and home ownership. From a young age, Dr. Smith-Sherrod knew she wanted to make a difference as an educator, and she has dedicated nearly 30 years to this mission. I can't believe that you've dedicated.
I know, right?
You don't look over 30. You don't look
Thank you.
30. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in elementary and special education from Salisbury State University and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Go HBCU.
Which is
followed by, what'd you say?
I was saying Salisbury is my oldest daughter's alma mater as well.
Oh, really? When did she graduate from Salisbury?
Oh, she's 38, so she's a little bit younger.
Okay, younger. Okay, good. Yeah. And it's so funny because when I was there, it was Salisbury State University, but now it's just Salisbury University, but I still keep the state in there because that's where
that's what it was when you were there.
Right, exactly. So I always put it in parentheses.
Awesome. Followed by a Master of Education in Administration and Supervision from Loyola University in Maryland. Her academic journey continued as she completed the prestigious National Institute of School Leadership program and later earned her doctorate. Yes! In educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University.
All the gray hairs.
Yes. Now, beyond the classroom, Dr. Smith-Sherrod is also a successful real estate professional where she combines her love for community building and her personal experience in home ownership to help families achieve stability and generational wealth. She understands firsthand the profound impact that owning a home can have on one's life and is dedicated to helping others realize this dream. That's amazing, Lisa. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's like a hobby that earns me money.
That's the best kind.
I love it.
Make money.
Yes. She currently resides in Maryland with her wonderful husband, Clifton Sherrod, and they have recently embraced the exciting chapter of being empty nesters as their daughter began her freshman year at Norfolk State University this fall. What?
Yes. Behold the green and gold.
That's beautiful. Lisa is a proud member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Awesome. When she's not busy making a positive impact in her community, she enjoys traveling and spending quality time with her family and friends. Dr. Smith-Sherrod exemplifies the spirit of sisterhood, using her talents, knowledge, and passion to uplift those around her and create a lasting difference. We are so happy and so thankful to have her with us today and share her inspiring journey and insights on sisterhood and leadership.
Well, thank you so much.
Welcome, Miss Lisa.
It's an honor to be here with you ladies. It truly is. Thank
you. So how is it being an empty nester?
It is really interesting. So along with our Zoe going away to college, we had a dog, and our dog passed away like the week after Zoe went away. So it was like super empty. And so it's so funny because sometimes my husband is like, so what are we gonna do? And I'm like, well, let's go do something fun, So we both, what's really interesting is we both have home offices. So we both work from home. And so it definitely has changed the dynamic of, work and home and just not having to manage so many things for, for our daughter and, for our dog and all that kind of stuff. So it's like we're starting to get to know and appreciate each other a little bit more in a different way.
Do you think you guys will get another dog?
Later. He doesn't want to get another one until after Zoe graduates. And so I think that's a really good idea because we're traveling a lot more and it is a big responsibility, but but we really miss her. So I don't know, one of my girlfriends, we were watching the Ravens game at one of my girlfriends, and her mom has this cute little dog, and the dog just came over to me and sat with me the whole time, and I was like, aww, I want one. So I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to hold out because I never really considered myself a dog person. Kamisha, you remember I had a cat.
Yes.
And my cat was my baby, and so I don't know, it's hard to lose a pet though. Yeah,
I
it's hard.
know.
I've done it twice, and I'm like, I'm not ready to do that again.
We lost our poodle. We had a beautiful poodle that we inherited from my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law passed away. And so we inherited the poodle, but the poodle was with us for almost 15 years or more. It grew up with my kids, and poodle passed away, girl. We were with her. It was like 3 a.m. We was at the vet in emergency, and it was hard. Like we didn't get over it for a minute. It like broke our heart. So I totally get it.
So
Totally.
did you ever get another dog?
Well, we didn't personally get another dog, but my oldest daughter did. She got two, and my son has one.
Yeah.
And my son is here, so the dog is here with us. So, but me,
Okay.
we didn't personally get one, but they did. They wanted another dog, but it took them a while. They didn't get it right away. It took them a few years
Your
to.
heart has to heal.
Yeah.
Because and people don't realize, I think when when you have a pet, like she would just be up under, like she would be right here right now, just sitting on the floor. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, Miss Lisa, thank you again. Thank you so much for being our first guest on the Wisdom in Bloom podcast with me, Denise, and Kamisha. We love that you're here. We love that you're here to talk about sisterhood and celebrating sisterhood and communities with us, especially of women of a certain age who don't always readily are available to even have these conversations, or don't have the platform to share these conversations, or some of them are just don't know where to share them or where to get information. So we really want to thank you for coming on our platform to share your perspective, both emotionally and professionally and personally, around around sisterhood and building a sisterhood. And so I would want to just start this off by asking your deepest perspective on what you look at, what the sisterhood looks like to you.
Yeah. What's really interesting is that I have one brother, and so I never had any birth sisters, right? So I feel like most of my life I've been looking for girlfriends to kind of fit that sisterhood place. And I have cousins. I have a lot of girl cousins. We're like similar, same ages. And so sisterhood to me is just that bond that is created by some type of likeness, or like kindred spirit, a likeness in focus, whether it's our beliefs, our core values, so our Christian values, or whether it is our professional, our professional goals and aspiration, whether it is even in our sorority, right? Like, so my sorority sisterhood is the backbone of our sorority. And I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, as Kamisha shared. And that organization is really built on sisterhood, and it's really having that like-mindedness that we are going to push each other, that we are going to support each other. And I think that's what I've always been looking for my whole life, is that support of my sisters. And I think I get as much from supporting others as I do from the support that they give me.
What a great.
That's really interesting that you are also a person who only has a brother, one sibling, and I'm the same. I have, just my one twin brother. And I wonder if that is why sometimes I do feel like I'm missing out on something, or I used to feel it. I don't feel it as much anymore, but I used to feel it.
Why don't you feel it as much anymore? Has age or got anything to do with it, or just your perspective has changed?
I think it's both. I think as I've aged, my perspective has changed on like what sisterhood is, because I guess when you don't have a sister, you create an idea of what a sister is and what a sister does, or maybe you see people who have sisters, or friends or family who have sisters. You're like, oh, it would be so great. But I think as I've gotten older, I have accepted like my closest friends as my sisters, instead of thinking that they needed to be something else or someone else or come from somewhere else. You know what I mean?
That's interesting that you've accepted what is,
right,
based on your current situation, instead of like yearning for something else that is unknown, really.
Exactly. And I also don't feel like it needs to be a lot of people. Right? Because I also used to think, I don't have all these girls, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't need all of them. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And actually, when I think about it, I have a lot.
I was gonna say you really do.
I know I wasn't really seeing my relationships the way they truly are. Like I had this vision, I think, in my mind of what they should be, versus, like you said, just kind of accepting them as they are. I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually do have more of a sisterhood than I ever really realized.
And I feel like we have different circles, like from different places and different spaces and different times in our life, right? So like Kamisha and I have known each other for probably almost 30 years, right? Like almost 30 years. And and we met actually because Kamisha's husband and I worked together in the same school.
Right.
But like there was a bond created of sisterhood with Kamisha and a person that was our assistant principal at the time. Mm-hmm. And so like that was one sister circle. Then I had Bible study groups that I worked with, that I led at my church. Mm-hmm. That's another group of sisters, like, and that we still kind of stay in touch together. Then I have my line sisters that I pledged with, my big sisters, then my stores that are in my chapter now. Mm-hmm. And so it's like it's kind of like you collect different sister circles throughout your life.
So those sister circles, those different ones, they do different things for you.
Yes.
So emotionally, personally, they do different things for you. I think me and Kamisha, we started this conversation on a previous episode, the episode before this one, and we talked about sororities, and you came up and we were like, well, Lisa would have a perspective on sororities because that is a type of sisterhood. And Kamisha was saying that she never kind of bought into sororities because she don't think that she was ever given the proper definition of what a sorority could do for her as a sisterhood. Where me, on the other hand, it was just me and my brother as well.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I looked for that type of sisterhood, but my education path and my journey was different. Where most people went to college right after high school. I went into the military. So I didn't go into college until 20 years later, Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to get that, but I longed for it. So just to hear you talk about it really puts a pin in it for me to say that would have really helped me to build what I needed, what I thought I was missing at that time with sisters.
And I think one thing that really resonated with me going to, my main school that I went to was a PWI, right? So Salisbury was a PWI. That was my home school. And so then University of Maryland Eastern Shore we had like a dual certification program, and I took some classes down there. But being a Black student at a PWI, you need some type of core group.
Yeah.
And it was like we had that shared experience of being students on that campus. And what enhanced it, the way my sorority was set up, or my chapter was set up, we had a citywide chapter. There are 11 of us, on my line. 3 of us went to Salisbury as our home school, and 8 were at University of Maryland Eastern Shore. So it was like we created a bond around, obviously, our sorority, our sisterhood, but it was also the shared experiences that we had of going to college together. And so like I have this shirt and it talks a little bit about sisterhood. And so like I said, okay, a definition for sisterhood. So, but really like sisterhood is really that unity, that friendship. It's a bond among women. It is a deep bond. It's love, respect, solidarity. It lasts for a lifetime.
A lifetime.
And that is the foundation of our sorority. So, I feel very blessed. I feel very blessed to have had people that I can truly believe, I depend on them and they depend on me.
Yeah. Lisa, has there been any challenges with building that sisterhood or building that community, like some negative aspects that you were able to turn around or bring it into a positive light? Have you come across that as you continue to build these different, or be a part of these different sisterhoods or these different communities?
You know what? One challenge I think it's always time, right? We just don't have a lot of time. And so one technical thing sometimes that we do to address time is bringing a lot of different people together. So like Kamisha knows, like I would like have like, celebrate my birthday, have my
Loves
party,
a birthday party,
and I'd have all my sisters from different places and spaces and time together. And sometimes it would work out really well because I do believe, like, Denise, I'm just meeting you tonight, but I feel already bonded and connected to you because most of the time our friends are going to be somebody that we can connect with as well.
Yeah,
right?
same mindset. Yes.
Exactly. But some of the challenges to that are like trying to bring different sisters together that might not have exactly alignment of values or alignment of where they want to go in life, or just personality clashes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one of the big challenges, and one thing I had to learn, is that, like, you know what, just take time to make time for individuals or to make time for a small group, because it sometimes can be challenging and you don't feel like you can really spend the quality time you want to when you're in larger groups. So it's like bringing the different groups of sisters together and just having enough time to really like have quality time.
I thought you were going to say that because, you know, people are kind of different, maybe their values don't align, that you had to drop some people from your sisterhood group.
Have you?
I think some people drop off automatically. They just like, I think
they kind of like vibrate away. They kind of vibrate away.
It's a natural drop. I think there's some people like for example, you brought it up. My college roommate, I don't think anybody would believe that my college roommate and I, who we were roommates for the whole time we were in college, except for one semester, that we would not be the best of friends right now. Mm-hmm. But our lives just went in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And I still love her. We still connected on Facebook or what have you, but we're just in different spaces in our lives.
Mm-hmm. But I also feel like you brought up a good point when you said you actively bring the girls together, right? You actively make time for the groups, the larger groups, and then also for like the individuals. And that is also a part of having a sisterhood, right? Like you have to keep it going, right? Yes. It's not going to just kind of survive like really on its own. No. And some women don't realize that, you know, it's a two-way relationship. You know, for us to be together and grow together, like there has to be communication, right?
Yes.
On both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lisa, how would you address that? And when you said that the personality clashes, it just doesn't, and you're the reason why everyone is coming together, how do you address it? And I asked that because right out of COVID, I'm already a homebody, very much of an introvert, love podcasting because I can do it behind the mic. Mm-hmm. But so coming right out of, and I don't travel a lot. Kamisha knows I'm really like, I'm stuck, you know? Okay. And so
we got to change
that. We're going to change that.
We got to. But Kamisha knows I'll throw a little trip together. So will Kamisha throw a little trip together in a minute.
But I traveled in my first half of my life a lot. I was military. My husband was military. We've been all over the world. So I understand traveling, but okay, that's another story. But right out of COVID, I went on a writer's retreat with a few ladies. Some were very close friends of mine that I've known for a very long time. Others I had just met, and others I literally had just met. We met through a social media circle. And I was so looking forward to it because I don't travel. I don't get around a lot of sisterhood and communities. And I'm socially awkward sometimes in person. So I was so, looking forward to it. And the first day or two, it was fine. And then all of a sudden the personalities start clashing like really bad. And I found myself in the middle, not in the middle of the chaos, but in the middle of, okay, do I comfort her or do I talk to her? Do I help her? I didn't stem anything, but I'm left now with nobody to kind of conversate with or talk it out with. And it made it very uncomfortable and very awkward. At the end of the trip, when we got back, I got in the car, my husband picked me up, we got in the car, and I cried. I mean, I cried like big alligator tears for like 30 minutes. My husband was like, oh my God, like what is going on? I'm trying.
No more sisterhood.
This is supposed to lift you up. This is supposed to lift you up.
Yeah. And what they didn't know was that I was in such a dark place when that happened because of some stuff that was going on in my family. When I tell you I was in a dark place, like psychiatry dark place. Mm-hmm. So I needed that trip. I was like, I needed it. You know what I mean? Yeah. when I came back, I felt like I was in a darker place, and I felt myself pulling away from everyone, and I didn't want to do anything anymore. Sisterhood. Okay, I felt like I had sisterhood PTSD.
It's true.
Wow.
So how would you have addressed that, or have you ever been in a situation where you had to?
I'm gonna say, and I think the people, if they hear it, they'll know what I'm talking about, our situation. But so recently and so I'm a connector, right? I'm about bringing people together, and I want everybody to have a good time. I want everybody to feel welcome. I want everybody to enjoy it. So I'm usually the person that kind of plans everything, and people just like rely on me to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we recently had a sorority conference. And so I got a room, and I invited 2 people to stay with me in the room. Now, I realized after some reflection and conversation with them afterwards, one of the people, I stayed with them all the time. Like, we're always like traveling together. The other person had never traveled with us before. So we're in this suite, but there's a lot of together time, right? So we have our business meetings that we're together, we're socializing together, we're in the room together. People have different habits in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I get up in the morning, I'm like, hey,
yeah,
let's turn on the lights, let's open a book. And my person that I travel with all the time is like, okay, I know you're going to do that, so it's all good. But the other person is like, I just need to be by myself in the morning. I don't really need any conversation. Please don't turn that light on right now. And it really was like that other person like was really like, I just don't know if I can travel with you guys anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was really, but still the best of friends, right? And still love. And what I really appreciated most is that there was a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, nobody walked away mad. Nobody, people, we probably all needed our space from each other, and we took that. But nobody walked away mad, because we came back later, conversations were had. People apologized for whatever like offense that somebody felt, and it was like we came back together. And I feel like whether or not we're able to stay together and spend the night in the same space again, we are stronger sisters. Yeah. Because we had that conversation. Like, you can't shy away from the difficult conversations. And I think my sisters are the ones that have made me better and made me stronger, because they're not scared to tell me, like, your stuff stinks. Like get it together. You know what I mean? And so I really appreciate I appreciated that challenge, because we were able to come back and to debrief. And Denise, I don't know if it's, and you have to feel invested.
Yeah.
So the one person came to me and said, do you think I should say something about it? And I said, how much does that relationship mean to you? Because if you don't value that relationship, it's probably, it's not going to be worth it to you to have that conversation. But if you value the relationship, you most definitely should, because it's going to be like a loss for you.
Yeah, and it did feel like a loss. Like, my loyalty was to the one friend that I had known for 20 years. That was the reason I was there on the trip. And so that was pulling me so bad, because it's like my loyalty is to her, but this other young lady hadn't done anything to me. So I didn't want to, I just felt like I didn't know what to do. I felt so lost, and I was already dealing with what I was dealing with that they didn't know anything about, what I mean? So it was just pushing me dark. And I mean, before we left, I even prayed and tried to pray with the group, and I couldn't get any clarity about how to resolve it. And I honestly believe, like, me and my friend, we're fine, and I believe that the rest of the group, they got together, and I believe they are fine.
Good.
But the dynamics is not the same as it was prior, Like,
and there's a difference too, I think, when you're traveling, right? If you have a gathering where you're just bringing people together for like a one-off, and maybe things aren't clicking, some of these people don't have to see each other again. But if you're traveling, you're staying overnight, then that's a whole nother level. And also, as Lisa was saying about the investment, right?
I love that.
In the sisterhood, and in the friendship, and in the people there. Like, what is your investment in those people? because
Yep.
that absolutely makes a difference.
Yeah, because my loyalty was to her, and I value her friendship, so I wanted to make sure that that was okay. You know what I mean? And but on the same hand, even though I didn't have a long-standing friendship with them, I thought that that was the start of something brand new. So I didn't want to damage that either. You know what I mean?
Enjoying the episode so far? We would love to connect with you. Sign up below to receive our Blooming Wisdom's affirmations and get all kinds of information about upcoming episodes as well as our community events. Thank you. Keep blooming, ladies.
As we get older and we mature, I feel like it's harder to make friends.
Yeah.
And it's harder to kind of like maintain friendships because we're busy, because we're kind of stuck in our ways and different things like that. And so sometimes it's not meant for you to have a lasting, long friendship with everybody. Sometimes, they say, what is a reason, a season, a lifetime? Sometimes some friendships are seasonal, and it's to teach us a lesson, or that there's a lesson to be learned from you. And then it's okay. Like I think we have to be okay with that. Like Kamisha, I think you asked me, are there any people like that you might not be friends with anymore, or that just kinda,
you had to let go of?
Yeah, it just kind of just happens, I think. And I think we have to be comfortable with that.
Yeah. Well, even people that are in your life for a season, they can come back for another season.
That's it. That's it.
It's like a TV show, right? Like it might be canceled, or it might just be on hiatus, right? And then it might come back like 2 or 3 seasons later. So that's the other part too. Sometimes, people are not necessarily gone forever, right?
Nope.
They're just for now, right? Maybe just for now. They are vibrating, as they say. We're not on the same frequency, and they are kind of like vibrating and excusing themselves from your life, right?
And this happened a couple of times, and I think you're so right. They come back around. It's a different season. You can rekindle.
Change, and I think that speaks also to sisterhoods, right? Because we change, then that means our groups are going to have to change, right?
Sure.
And evolve with us or away from us, or you bring in new people, right? Because we are always kind of evolving.
Absolutely. Kamisha, you were talking earlier on our last episode about past and present dynamics in communities. Do you want to share a little bit and talk over that with Lisa as well? What do y'all look at with past and present, like the past way that communities and sisterhoods was developed compared to now?
Well, yeah. So the example that I brought up was with my great grandma, my little mom.
I love it.
in Florida, and so my little mom, she had a community of women, right? So she was in one house, and then kind of diagonally was Miss Brown, and then the other diagonal was Miss Lou, and then right next to her was like Miss Minnie, and she would go out on the porch, Lou, blah blah blah, what's happening over there, Minnie, blah blah blah, and like as a person, especially from the city, I'm like, what is all this, coming out on the porch, who comes on the porch and starts shouting? But that's what they did, and then my mom even, I don't think I mentioned this, Denise, but my mom even shared that when she was younger, she remembers that sisterhood with my grandma and her neighbors, and it helped her to kind of understand, like, oh my gosh, what friendships are, and how you maintain these kind of friendships with women over the long haul. I think at that time, though, the difference was also those women needed each other, right? So she's my little mom, so she, I don't know, was, when I was young, 70 or something, she was born in 1910 or something like this, right? So those women in those Black communities where they were kind of forced together anyway, and they had a lot of things they were pushing and fighting against, I think it was easier for them to come together on a lot of things they had in common, a lot of things they were working towards. But then also just because they want to protect their families, right? They care for their children and their communities. And now I think it's a lot different because we are not as forced in communities as we used to be. Certain women, I mean, there's still segments of population where they are in communities maybe they don't want to be in. But I'm just talking about, women our age, maybe educated, who have decided and chosen like where they want to live and all. And so it's not the same, you or especially in like a living community, for example. So you might not even know your neighbor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might not know who they are. You might not be interested in knowing them. They might not be interested in knowing you. So those kinds of like simple sisterhoods, I think, are harder to come by. Like it takes more work now, if you will.
And I think, Kamisha, a big part of that, I think, is people are like on a grind, right? So people are getting up, they're going to work, or even if they work from home, they're working from home. Like we don't take time to just sit outside and sit on the porch and just talk to our neighbors like that. So like that authentic sense of community does not come from just necessarily just living in the community. Maybe when your kids are younger and you have little kids and everybody might have that thing in common. And so your kids are going to activities together or playing, in the neighborhood. But nowadays, people's kids don't even necessarily play outside. You have people's children. Okay. Sorry. You have people's children and they don't go and play. They're not playing outside as much. And so it's just you have to be more intentional.
Right.
I think about creating those senses of community, because some people, I think, and as we get older as women, I think we realize that sometimes we need some individual time, right? We need some time to recharge. And if you decide, or if you learn about yourself that you're maybe an introvert, then you need time to recharge, maybe on your own. So it might not be as natural for you to sit and have one of those, have a conversation, just going outside and talking to your neighbor. But I'll say one thing, something that happens in the neighborhood, bring everybody together. Everybody will be out there talking. Whether it's like, I know one time everybody's power was out. And like you would just see, like we had a bad storm and like everybody was just kind of like outside, like, what's up? Like, what are we doing? Because nobody was going to sit in the house. So it kind of like the tragedy of the power outage, like that brought everybody together. And you can exchange numbers and continue. But I feel like it's more like situational, and you have to be intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also I think these days, women, we don't. So you mentioned this earlier, saying, you think it's harder, right, as we get older to make new friends, I'll say. Yeah. But I find that sometimes women, especially, because I don't know that men have this issue. We might have to talk about that in another thing. But I feel like women are more closed, right? They're kind of like, I got my friends, I got my community, I know my people. You know what I mean? They're not always as open to like adding new people in, right? They may not be very trusting. They may not be open. They're kind of like, why do I need new friends? Now, not that they won't be friendly, right? You might be friendly. You might meet a person, and then you think, oh, we got something here, and then they don't return your calls. They don't respond to messages. Like, you're like, what happened? So I feel too that these days, and I don't know, because they don't feel like they need you, they are not as open. I find that women are just not as open to kind of adding you as like a permanent piece in their life.
That's very interesting. I know we had a sorority meeting a couple of weeks ago, and after the meeting, I was like, oh yeah. So my cousin, who's my soror, and I had already said we want to go to lunch. So another soror texts me, and she's like, I know y'all going to lunch after the meeting. Where are we going? Right? And so I was like, all right. So next thing you know, it was about 15 of us. And went out to lunch, because I was like, well, we got to ask so-and-so. We got to ask so-and-so. And then what was so interesting, some of the sorors didn't know each other. And so they ended up sitting there and just really like realizing their kids had gone to the same school and they were there at the same time, even though their kids are grown now, they're like in college and stuff. But it was like they made a connection. And I think that's what the beauty is of sisterhood. And I feel like my like kind of role as a connector is to like give people opportunities to like meet people and to interact with other people, because you never know. Like I never want somebody to feel othered.
Yeah.
We talked about like that sense of belonging that students need, that kids need in school. But I think all of us, if we're really honest as adults, we all need it too.
Yeah, we long for it. It's one thing about being alone, but it's another thing about being lonely.
Exactly. And we were really made for that like communal space.
Absolutely.
And so and I mean the Bible talks about that. Like we're made for community. And so I think that we have to the world will probably tell us that we don't need other people, but we really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really do. But it's hard. It's definitely hard for women, I think, to put themselves out there.
The older you get.
Because they've been hurt. You've dealt with a whole life of stuff. And everybody's not nice.
So we have two more things before we wrap up, Lisa. One thing I want to get your perspective on, we know that Kamala Harris is now running for office, and she is a woman of certain age and a woman of color, and she has talked about building communities of women and things, but there are still women that do not support her because she is a woman. She has a community of women that support her, but there's that community of women that do not. You think about previous presidential office, as in President Trump, who got in the office on the backs of the white female vote. And the same population does not support Kamala Harris in that way. Can you give me a little bit of your perspective on that, or your thoughts around that?
What is interesting, though, is I agree that there's a demographic of people that are not going to support Kamala Harris, whether it's a white man,
absolutely,
right? Or the wives of white men that have a certain mindset around a Black woman and her ability to run the country. But there is so much energy and support around Kamala Harris. Like, there's every demographic group that you can think of pretty much has a white women for Kamala Harris, gays for Kamala Harris, Black women for Kamala Harris, men. So there was all this energy when Biden actually announced her and endorsed her, to have all these different groups. And one group I'm a part of is the Win with Black Women. And so every Sunday there's a kind of a rally call, and they have different people come on and talk about different things that might be going on in their community and things like that. So there is that small segment of women, I believe, that aren't going to support Kamala Harris, but I think it's deeper than just her. Yeah. I think that they're kind of going with that white male misogynist, unfortunately. If a woman votes for Trump, you have to wonder, what is she really thinking? What's going on inside? Because he has done and said and shared so many beliefs that are negative and not uplifting for women.
Of all culture.
Right. Yes. So therefore, I think that the energy and the excitement around Kamala potentially being our president, I think it has really sparked a new group of people that are re-engaged in the political process.
Yes.
And so I'm hopeful that we will see the fruits of that. But I think there's always going to be a segment of people, no matter what. There's even, unfortunately, I've heard some Black men say.
Yeah, me too.
Because of some of, nobody's going to agree with anybody 100%. And some of the things that
and it's okay. That's what we need. The respect of that all is, it's okay that you're not going to agree with it. But I still am curious, the knowledge of the whys. You said something, Lisa, that, was very, very important, or an aha moment to me, is the wives of white men. So, what they are following, but that's your husband. I follow my husband.
Right. Because we've been taught that. That's biblical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but we also I think one of the disappointments with that election was that he was running against a woman. And that woman thought that the Sisterhood, right, was going to come out and stand strong and come together and get her elected, right? And I think it actually showed maybe even how fragile, I think is the word you use, Lisa, the sisterhoods are, right? Yes. In this country. They are not what they used to be, when you could just tell one woman would tell another woman would tell another woman, and it didn't matter because it's about women. So we all women, we're going to come together. That doesn't happen at the same level, I think, that it used to, and that people were depending on it because it was a woman. And I don't think people are depending on it as much this time, where they were before, where they're not just saying, okay, we just got to get the women. Like you said, there's the men group, there's the veterans group, there's the, LGBTQ group. It's like, no, everybody has to be a part of this.
Absolutely.
And I think something that Kamala has that Hillary did not have is she's a woman of color.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole nother connection.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Kamala has another segment. She has the Divine Nine, which are the historic, like the nine historically Black fraternities and sororities. And so we know that she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, but as a member of the Divine Nine, she has that support.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's areas of connectedness that she has to the community,
right,
that she's able to pull from, where even though Hillary was a woman, that area of connectedness to the community is not the same for her. Wow. And even though she was a woman, and this is maybe just Lisa's personal opinion, but did Hillary lean as much into her femininity of being a woman as much as we see Kamala does?
I don't think so. And you look at Kamala Harris as she has built, you talked about building the different circles of sisterhood.
Yep.
Her life, if you look back on her, she has built different circles, different levels, different tiers, and
yes,
relationships, like strategically and on purpose.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree.
It's very different, and hopefully I'm not going to be disappointed, but I am super hopeful. I am super hopeful with the energy and the excitement that I see, that she'll have a different outcome than Hillary did. I'm super hopeful about that.
Yes, we are all hopeful. That will be the case. Mm-hmm. All right, Denise. So, do we have anything else that we wanted to talk with Miss Smith-Sherrod about, as far as sisterhood and community?
We have a whole lot. I think we reserve the right, as we probably would with every guest, to bring you back, maybe even on a panel, to talk more about sisterhood and about community. But until then, can you give us your final thoughts, Miss Lisa, or advice on nurturing sisterhood and communities?
Yeah. I think that women are just the backbone of our society. And I don't say that in a cliche way at all, but I say that in a way that we really need to protect and uphold sisterhood. We're really truly built and made for community, and we are stronger because of each other. I saw somebody with this shirt and it said, "As strong as the sister standing next to me." I am responsible for the people that God has put into my life. And it is my responsibility to make sure they are well, to make sure that they have what they need, and to be able to support them. And it's also my responsibility to be vulnerable and honest when I need their support.
Absolutely.
And so I just feel that true sisterhood is when you can just be very open and just come as who you are. And none of us are perfect, and we learn from each other's challenges and struggles and successes.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful to have been in community with you ladies, and hopefully this will continue.
I hope so. Absolutely. I love this conversation. Kamisha, you have any last parting words before we wrap up, my friend?
No, I loved what Lisa just said. I even wrote it down, where she says we have to protect and uphold sisterhood. That is so true. That is something that I don't think we actually even think about, right? But you really have to be intentional about that, because we don't want to allow these sisterhoods to just kind of fade away, go away, as though they're not important, because they're important to the women and they're important to our communities, because of what we do in our communities. So that was fabulous. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Lisa Smith-Sherrod. I don't want to leave out your doctor. You work so hard for that. We have really appreciate you joining us and sharing in this fabulous conversation. I know our listeners have enjoyed it as well. And so for all of our wonderful Wisdom and Bloomers, out there, we want to say, don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah.
And leave a review. Share this episode with your sisterhood. Let them know about it. We would love to hear your comments, your thoughts. Of course, you can catch us on all of our social medias, on Wisdom and Bloom podcast. And just remember to just, keep your sisterhoods alive, keep thriving with them, keep growing them, and keep building them. Yep. Because they are so important to us and to our community.
Yep. And if you want to, you can also drop us an email at wisdomandbloompodcast@gmail.com. And once these episodes come out, we will be on the Spotify for Podcasters platform, which allows you to leave a comment or even a voicemail to shout at us, and we will listen to them all. Thank you, Miss Lisa. Thank you, Kamisha. Thank you to the Wisdom in Bloom listeners, our bloomers. We appreciate you all, and keep blooming, ladies.
Keep blooming, ladies.
Yay.